for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial. Essentially, gathering insight, inspiration really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, the legendary Bobbi Price. Bobbi, thanks so much for taking the time. Normally we would hug. We discussed this earlier, but we gave a handshake, so that was good too, everybody. So Bobbi, seriously, thanks so much for being on the show. It's an honor.
Thank you.
So I really am excited. I know there's a lot of anticipation on this particular episode with the legacy that you have created in this community. Really what you do for Colorado Springs and the real estate industry as a whole. I know there's so many people in anticipation just kind of eating up your knowledge, Bobbi, so this will be really, really great. I guess let's just dive into it if you're okay.
Sure.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm old.
Oh, come on.
And I've been selling real estate here for 41 years.
Oh, that's huge.
That's why I'm a legacy. It's age.
You know what, though? It's a positive legacy that you're leaving. So that's huge to me when it comes down to 41 years, Bobbi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gotta like it to do it that long.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I came here in 1977 from California.
Wow.
I was a single mom with 4 kids.
Okay.
And 3 dogs, 2 cats, a couple of birds, no money, no real estate experience, no contacts whatsoever here, but I had to do it because I had to feed the kids.
Sure.
There was no choice. And at that time in Colorado Springs, there were 2 companies that were the companies to be with. One was Van Skok and the other was Ken Rayhans.
Okay.
And I wanted to be with Ken Rayhans. I went to, they used to do, I don't think they do this anymore, but they used to do, when you took real estate school, they would have seminars afterwards, and different brokers would come and talk to the students to see if it was a fit for them to join that company.
Huh.
And so Ken Rayhans, he came, and there were only about 8 or 9 of us in the auditorium.
Wow.
And he was a very aggressive person. And he said, if you're not willing to work 80 hours a week, if you're not willing to give up your holidays, if you're not willing to be the best you can be, this is not the place for you. Wow. Everybody got up and walked out but me. And I'm standing there going, yes, yes, yes.
This is it.
This is what I want.
Wow.
And they didn't want me. And because I had no contacts, basically. And they kept saying, go get trained somewhere else and then come back in a year or 2. And I went, no, I want to be here.
Wow.
And so 7 interviews later, they finally hired me just to get rid of me because they thought I was going to fall on my face.
Oh, no.
And I couldn't fall on my face. And
Little did they know.
Yeah. And so I was Rookie of the Year for them.
Wow.
I was there 2.5 years. I left because I realized that company was all about money, and it wasn't about the people.
Okay.
And it was about stats and paychecks, and it just wasn't fit.
Okay.
And so I moved on to a little company where I was there 15 years.
Okay.
And then the big company then was the Patterson Group, and they approached me and asked me to come there. And I said I can't. I'm loyal to my broker.
Wow.
Because I'm doing 1/3 of the business out of his company.
Sure.
And if I leave, they'll fold. And then I found out that my broker had taken my commissions and spent it on something else. And so I called Kadeen Patterson and I said, I'm ready to come if you still want me. And she said, come on over. And I was so intimidated.
Seriously, Bobbi?
Well, these were the big producers. The biggest.
Yeah.
And Kadeen was the biggest producer here for her whole entire life.
Wow.
30-some years. Nobody touched her,
Sure.
and I was flattered, but I just didn't feel I was the same material as what they were used to.
Interesting.
But I said, no, I'm going to do it, and I did it.
Okay.
Best thing I ever did.
Wow.
You surround yourself with the best, and it helps you become the best.
For sure. I think everybody understands the guilty by association, positive or negative. that's living proof right here, everybody, 100%. So, okay, very cool. So after that,
Well, then after that, Kadeen passed on, and it became Prudential.
Okay.
The same company became Prudential. They sold it, and I was there 22 years. But
wow, Bobbi.
it was not going in the direction I wanted to go in. It was becoming more, how many agents can we get instead of what's the value that the agents can give.
Unreal. Okay.
So the Platinum Group had opened a couple of years before. They had called me several times and said,
Wow.
come with us, and I can't,
Right.
because I'm loyal.
Sure.
And then Prudential fired my manager, and I left that day, and I came here, and it's been 10 years, and best company ever to work for.
Truly. I mean, and you're talking about the guilty by association, as you mentioned prior to. With the Platinum Group, I mean, there are so many beautiful minds inside this operation. I mean, the energy and the longevity is huge. So
it's really a family here, and everybody helps everybody. Nobody's jealous of each other. It's great.
I love that. And that's the abundance mindset. It really is. I mean, there's plenty of business out there, and doing the right thing, it comes into you. It's that scarcity mindset that a lot of producers have, that it's scary, right? So when you're talking about your career, and this is something we didn't necessarily jump right into, but Bobbi, what was it about real estate initially that you decided, you know what, that's a career path I want to take? Because there's so many things you could have done, in your life thus far. So why real estate?
Well, I was limited in my careers because I never went to college.
Okay.
I had children from the time I was 2 weeks after I was 17.
Wow.
By the time I was 21, I was divorced twice with 3 kids.
Unreal.
And no training in anything.
Okay.
And I became a theatrical agent for kids in Hollywood. Got my kids into it, became a stage mom.
Wow.
Got out of that, because that is tough.
Okay.
And did multi-level marketing, where I trained other people, to sell under me.
Sure.
I did herbs and vitamins is what I did, because I really believed in them.
Okay.
But when I decided to make a change, I wanted only to be able to count on myself and not somebody else. I didn't want to spend 6 months training somebody and then they walk.
Wow.
So I said, I'm going to do something that is just me.
Okay.
If I make it or I break it, it's me, it's not somebody else. And so I loved houses, loved real estate, didn't know a thing about it. But when I moved out here in '77, I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I jumped right in. I jumped into school.
Wow.
And my mom was out here at that time, and she watched my kids because they were little.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of them were little.
Sure.
And the hours are long. But I thought, I had the illusion, well, when I came out here, I bought a house. I bought a house the day I looked.
Okay.
I called a realtor I did not know. I said, this is my criteria. I'll be there in an hour. And he showed me, he says, well, I have 5 houses to show you. And so we looked at 4 of them, and I didn't like any of them. And he said, well, that's it. And I said, well, what about the 5th one? You said there were 5. And he goes, I don't want to show you that. And I went, really? Why? And he goes, well, it's by industry. And I said, what kind of industry? And he says, there's a hay store and a liquor store and a drive-in movie around the corner from this house. And I'm going, honey, I'm from California. That's not industry. Show me the house. And of course, that's the one I bought.
Yeah, I love it.
I loved it. It was perfect. I was there 8 years. I doubled my money. And it was a great house for me. But I learned something that day. You don't judge for your client. You let them judge what they want to see. The next day, I called him up and I said, my mother wants to move out here. I want to buy her a house. So I bought her a house that day.
Wow.
So I had the illusion that you sit in your office, the phone rings, and you pick up the phone and you sell 2 houses in 2 days.
Just like that,
just
right?
like that.
Yeah, no problem.
That seemed really easy. I thought, one thing I liked about real estate, I thought I could choose my own hours, which doesn't work either.
Yeah, wow.
And I had bribed my kids to come out here because they had, I mean, I had a senior and a junior in high school when I came out here. I had one starting school, one starting middle school, and then the older kids.
Wow.
And I bribed them with horses.
Okay.
Said, if we move to Colorado, I'll buy you a horse. So I did, with the illusion there would be time to ride.
Right.
You know?
Crossing your fingers on that one.
Yeah, that didn't work either. So, because I was pretty busy from day one, but in day one it was knocking on doors and doing things like that, trying to get established, you know. Now I'm busy, but I'm already established. I don't have to do that kind of stuff
Right.
anymore. They come to me, which is nice.
Well, and that's the hard work and determination you've had over all this time in building a brand and a reputation that just doesn't happen overnight. And I think
No, it
that
doesn't.
right off the bat, that's huge advice for a lot of people who are either just getting involved or thinking about doing it. It's hard work. It is not necessarily on your own time, your own hours. You got to pay your dues just like anything else. This is not a part-time gig, which a lot of people look at it that way. To have that higher level of success, it's a commitment.
It's definitely a commitment. And, well, the first house I sold was Christmas Eve.
Wow. Christmas Eve?
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm home now on Christmas Eve.
There's
My whole
a
family's
there's a
there.
line Bobbi doesn't cross anymore. Well, so Bobbi, I mean, there's so much rich history and information to that. I guess for everybody out there, and myself included, what's your why, Bobbi? I mean, what motivates you, gets you out of bed in the morning to do what you do to the level that you do it at?
Well, one thing that is a why for me is when my grandfather died, I was 11. And he left me $25,000 that was given to me when I turned 21, $5,000 a year each July.
Wow.
That saved my butt.
Okay. Yeah.
That paid for Christmas, that paid for birthdays, and I appreciated it so much. Now, that would be like maybe $20,000 now.
A year.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
but
sure,
at that time,
sure.
$5,000 was a lot of money for me with 4 kids.
Right.
And I went, I want to do this for my children. When I pass, I want to leave them a legacy. I want to make it easier for them, you know, and hopefully they'll use the money wisely like I did. But it was, I cannot tell you how much that meant to me.
Sure.
So that has always stuck with me, that I want to do that too, for them. You know, so I have, of course, he only had 1 grandchild.
Okay.
I have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and
Wow.
4 great-grandchildren, so it spreads a little bit.
But that's beautiful, Bobbi.
Yeah, so that was a big factor for me,
Okay.
was to be able to do that, and I have reached that point where I can.
I think that, you know, to me, what sticks out is family, and there's nothing more important in this world
There
than
is
family.
nothing that even comes close.
And I love that, and it really is a huge motivator. I think that there's a lot of people that can resonate with that, whether it's, you know, their own children, their own grandchildren, really trying to give maybe necessarily what they didn't have, and really make life easier in that way, and that really is what it should be all about. But correct me if I'm wrong though, Bobbi, because the information that I get out and just being in the community of this and the reputation you have, your clients have also become, you know, extended family, right? And you,
Oh, yeah.
a big portion of how the level of success that you've had is because you care and treat them a certain way. So I'm assuming that's a part of your why too, right?
Well, it's all the people.
Okay.
You know, the houses are the byproduct. The people,
There
you
you
know, that's what you're doing. You're solving problems for people, and it's fun, and it's exciting, and it's very disappointing if the problem doesn't get solved.
Sure.
But hopefully, you know, most of the time you do, and people remember that, and they love it. And you become part of their family extended.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, what a rich reward. I mean, and you had mentioned this a little bit earlier at a broker's that you were, you know, kind of at the beginning, and talking strictly about money and commission and volume, and that's really not what the Titans are all about. It's really the impact and the legacy and really representing the industry to a higher standard. And don't get me wrong, Bobbi, you've hit heavy levels of volume, top tier producer, that whole line, but that's not your driver. So if you're not picking that up, you really need to rewind to this and listen to that again, because that's a big reason why I'm honored to have you on the show, Bobbi.
Well, you know, I have a bookkeeper, and the checks go to her, and she deposits them. I don't even know what I get paid.
Wow.
I don't pay any attention to that. I don't, and this is weird because nobody's like this
Yeah.
with me,
All
but
right.
I don't pay attention to my volume at all
Hmm.
because I can't work harder than I do. There's nothing left to give more than I give,
Wow.
and so it just is what it is,
Huge.
you know, and it always seems to work. Even in bad years, it works. I'm not a big spender.
Okay.
You know, I don't wear fancy jewelry. I don't go running around the world.
Sure.
You know, I'm pretty much a homebody, and the money is just there.
Yeah.
And as long as I make more than I spend, I'm happy.
You're good. And again, the byproduct, I love that you said that. That's really what it comes down to. And so many people resonate with that, and if you're not really understanding that, again, watch this again, because you'll really get it. But Bobbi, for the people that are really watching this and the avid followers of this series, they really, really enjoy understanding how the Titans think and really what they're doing to scale their business and grow and take it to new heights. So if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose maybe one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what does that look like for you?
As far as strict business goes,
Mhm.
answering my phone. That is the biggest comment I get.
Okay.
I can spend $5,000, $10,000 advertising a
Mhm.
house, and at closing they're going, "We could always get you." And that was the most important thing. My phone is on 24/7.
Hmm.
I pick it up if I'm not on it,
Sure.
or if I'm not on closing,
Yeah.
or doing this.
True. Truly, no joke. When I was setting everything up and we were setting the lights and camera, Bobbi was over there on the phone multiple times. This is reality here, everybody.
So it's and I do a commercial.
Mm.
And that's been really good for me. I do a commercial on two stations,
Okay.
and I say on the commercial, if you call me, I will personally answer your call.
Hmm.
And I do,
Okay.
because I don't turn it over to an assistant,
Mhm.
which is another thing. A lot of agents have lots of assistants,
Okay.
and they do, you know, the advertising, but then they turn it over to somebody else. I don't do that.
Hmm.
I personally handle it.
Wow.
And I do have a partner. It's my granddaughter, Jade.
She's
and-
awesome. Hey, Jade, if you're watching.
And she personally does her own stuff too. So, you know, it's, but I'll tell you the thing that changed my business.
Okay.
Okay? And it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with business.
Hmm.
It has to do with me,
Love it.
internally. I take a lot of classes on psychology, inner child workshops, all this stuff. And I've done it for years. I go to a Science of Mind church, and that's very philosophy based,
Mhm.
you know, and that's where I took all these classes, and I learned so much about myself
Hmm.
doing that. And, you know, they teach you that you put your own limits on your success. It has nothing to do with what's out there and what's possible.
Wow.
You make it possible or not.
Hmm.
And nothing comes out there to you, it comes from you out. And when I was at the Patterson Group, so
Mhm.
I was about 15 years in the business at that time.
Okay.
I was doing okay, but I could never really break into what I wanted to do.
All right.
Okay? And they used to have something called floor duty. And floor duty was when you were given the calls that came in that weren't to a specific agent,
Hmm.
that people, buyers, right?
Right.
So I was there, and I got 3 calls that day.
Hmm.
And 2 of them, now figure this is a long time ago, 35 years,
Sure.
okay? 2 buyers were looking at houses at 100,000.
Mhm.
1 buyer was looking at a house at 250. And I immediately, when I got off floor, started researching
Okay.
the $100,000 houses.
Hmm.
And I caught myself, and I went, isn't this interesting that I immediately, without even thinking, gravitated to the lower end?
Hmm.
Why did I do that?
Yeah.
You know, because that was my comfort level, because that's what I thought I deserved.
Oh, wow.
And so I went, I don't have to feel that way.
Mhm.
I can feel differently. I can choose to make a change in what's my comfort level.
Wow.
And I did. It was like maybe a 30-second process.
Hmm.
And it changed everything. everything. I was never getting high-end listings, high-end buyers. Within 48 hours, they were coming to me.
Wow.
And it was just what happened in here. This shift that sends out this vibration
Yeah.
that says, attract me, you know?
Yeah.
And it did, and it worked. And everything after that was so much easier.
Wow.
It was amazing that happened.
And I know that there's so many people out there thinking, wow, that is so simple, but so compelling and powerful. It's literally the aha moment, the light bulb switches on, the lightning bolt hits you, but you have to experience it yourself. You can hear other professionals go through their lives and go through certain aha moments, but truly, if you weren't in that place at that time and analyzing those $100,000 listings versus the $250,000, it wouldn't have turned on for you, right? So I think that's really, really important for everybody to know.
Well, and nobody can tell you how to do it. It's just something, it's a shift that happens inside.
Yeah.
And it happens immediately, and it happens forever.
That's huge.
Because you've changed. You've completely changed, and you did it yourself. You know, but it was amazing to me.
Yeah.
The other thing that has really helped my business
Okay.
is I think there's a big picture going on, much bigger than we realize. And everybody is working with who they need to work with.
Okay.
So when I get rejected, I don't feel, well, I might feel rejected shortly, you know, for a very brief period of time. Gosh, I really wanted that listing. But then I sit back and I go, no, they needed to be working with that other person for whatever reason, and it's none of your business. We're all here to learn lessons. We're all here to grow. And if that's what it takes, if they need to be working with that other person, I love it. Good for them.
Wow.
You know, and because rejection is the hardest part of real estate.
Agreed.
And everybody gets rejected, and it's how you react to it. You know, you can't change what happens, but you can definitely change how you react to everything that comes your way.
Right.
And that's everything.
Agreed. Not just real estate transactions or business, but personal life, and not so much what happens, but how we respond. All day. Agreed with that. Wow, this is so good. Hopefully everybody is writing that down. This was chock full of information already right off the bat. Bobbi, let's go into the tricky part of this particular interview, and this is really a time where people can reflect and really gravitate towards each other with a challenge. Because everybody deals with challenges in their lives, as we kind of prior discussed, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. No one's exempt. But it's not so much what happens, but how you respond, as you were discussing just a second ago. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a challenge that you dealt with in your life, that you overcame or learned from, that you became stronger because of it.
Just one?
One? Hey, this could keep going on, everybody. This might be another episode. So.
Well, I can tell you, I feel really blessed that I can hear criticism and learn from it.
Sure.
And so I had 2 abusive marriages. And I thought I was a victim.
Okay.
That was huge for me. I was a victim. I was the world's biggest victim. I didn't think I had choices. And so after my second abusive marriage, I was complaining to this girl one day. And I said, I don't know what to do anymore. You know, I'm afraid of him, blah, 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 the big story. And she just looked at me and she says, oh, shut up.
Just like that.
Just like that. And I looked at her and she said, you are getting exactly what you deserve because you don't have the balls to do anything about it.
Wow.
And she walked away. You know? And
thank you for this.
And my first reaction was, who is she to talk to me?
Right, how rude. That's what you're thinking,
and it
right?
was rude.
Yeah.
But, and then that was about maybe 3 seconds of that feeling, and then it was like, oh my God, she's absolutely right. She is so right.
Wow.
And I was able to get out of that relationship and not have any more abusive relationships. You know, and it was hard. It was really hard. I bought a gun and I carried it with me because I thought he was going to kill me.
Oh,
and so that was one challenge.
Yes.
And blessed, like she was just like an angel coming to me. in a strange way.
Right.
But, so that was huge for me.
That's huge.
Another time, my minister asked me, because I was I was president of the board of the church, and I was late to a meeting, which you were not late to meetings when you were running them.
Sure.
And I had some big excuse, whatever it was, and I walked in, I said, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late, blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me and he goes, Bobbi, what would you lose if you gave up the drama?
Wow.
And I just looked at him and I go, nobody would love me. I got it that fast. So then I was able to get out of the drama. Not totally, you never get out of the drama.
Sure, there's always going to be people.
Especially with kids and grandkids, there's always drama. But I was able to see it for what it was, and I was able to see how I had used drama for people to love me. Oh, look, Bobbi, she overcame this. Oh, she's so strong, because I had a really strange upbringing. I didn't have a father. I had an alcoholic mother. I had a grandmother that was just sweet as can be, but nobody raised me. Nobody ever told me what to do, how to do it.
Wow.
I was just kind of on my own. It's amazing that I didn't turn out really weird.
Wow. You're not, Bobbi. You turned out awesome.
But I think having a couple of abusive relationships shows, the lack of knowing myself. Knowing that I was worth more, because you don't go into an abusive relationship with a high self-esteem.
Wow.
And you don't stay in it with a high self-esteem.
Sure.
So those were huge. I also had to overcome cancer. That was 7 years ago. And that was interesting.
Wow.
That's no fun at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to make it.
Unreal.
And I was thinking, do I have enough money put away to give my kids?
God.
But I'm still here, and I'm there's nothing going on with my body, so I think I'm okay. And then my last marriage, I'm a widow. My last marriage, he died of cancer.
Gosh,
And
sorry,
so I was with him every day for a year in the hospital, and they set me up a desk, and I worked.
Wow.
And he didn't mind. He just wanted me there with him, you know.
In his presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he says, I feel better when you're here. I'm not as afraid, and so I worked in a hospital for a year. And then I would do 2 appointments a day, and I would make them short. I didn't show, I just listed.
Okay.
And we got through that year. I think I did 19 million that year, which is a lot of money to not be out there in the field,
Yeah, seriously.
So it was, but all those challenges make you stronger, if you let them, if you don't let them get you down.
And that's a big point that hopefully everybody's taken away. I mean, Bobbi, there was so much that you just shared. First of all, I want to thank you because it's not easy to do that, just in general, but then out to the public as well. But when you're talking about all those different things and some of the most challenging things that you could deal with in your life from the beginning all the way up until now, and look at what you've accomplished. Didn't let it stop you. Keep moving forward. Super positive attitude. I mean, at least for me, every time I run into you, you're smiling, you're happy, it's super pleasant, and you would never know. I never knew half of those things that you were just discussing that you were going through. You just don't. And I think that that's something to take away for everybody, at least I do, is no matter how hard you have it, no matter what you're going through, you can keep moving forward, be positive. That's all you can really do is choose that attitude, right? Because you didn't choose to have a certain upbringing, you didn't choose to have abusive relationships, you didn't choose to have cancer or deal with these things. I mean, right?
Well, not consciously you didn't.
Yeah. Seriously. So I think that's huge, Bobbi, and thank you so much for sharing that, and hopefully everybody appreciated that because that is some deep stuff we just dove into. So if it's okay, let's go on to a slightly softer question. Everybody, so this is actually one of my favorite questions to kind of go through, and this is the travel back in time. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self in any phase of your life a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young Bobbi?
That you're okay. That you deserve You know, that if you're successful, you're not taking away anybody else's success.
Wow.
And it's okay to be successful. You know, they say the love of money is the root of all evil, but money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money.
Well said.
And that's huge.
Yep.
There's a huge difference there. You know, so if the money is the byproduct of the success, that's what matters.
Agreed. And I think that that's really deep for everybody to take in. A lot of the spin that I put on that is the more successful financially you are, the more you can give, and the more you can give back. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
So, but I think that's a positive spin on being that giver and not just all about me, right? So I think that that's huge.
It is huge. I'm a really happy person.
Yeah.
And I'm single again, you know.
Right.
But I make my own happiness. I decide to be happy.
Huge.
And it's a choice. And you know, discovering that I didn't have to have drama was a big part of it. That it was okay not to have to always overcome something.
Wow.
You know, just flow with it.
Yeah, it's too short. I mean, people throw it around like it's too
it
short.
is.
I mean, come on. When you're accomplishing certain things and you're going through, just don't sweat the small stuff because it all stacks up. So I think that's huge advice. And I really love that there were certain people in your life that came in to kind of prod you at that time when you needed it, or at least when you... So don't be afraid to have conversations with strangers and take advice from odd places. And, you know, whether you live by it or not is completely up to you, but be open to receiving that. I think that that's a big important thing, is not to be humble enough, I guess. Because if you weren't humble enough to receive those prods or those advice, you wouldn't have changed how you are. So I think that that's a big thing.
Well, I think I wanted to change, you know, so I was open to that. Some people don't want to change. They just want to stay stuck.
Sure.
Because it's easy. It's much easier to stay stuck than it is to move on.
Wow.
It's much easier to say I'm a victim than it is to say I control my own life. And when I learned all that stuff and put it to practice, it was amazing.
And here we are.
Here we are, yeah.
This is great stuff. Oh my gosh, this episode is fantastic. So let's go into the next portion into that. So first of all, that was huge advice, not just for young Bobbi, but everybody watching, myself included. But the next question is a crowd pleaser. Everybody really enjoys this one because they want to really learn and grow like the Titans do. They want to feed their minds the same way that everybody is doing, you know, on this particular series. So, Bobbi, if you could look back, books that you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, or influencers on social media, coaches, what are you feeding your mind?
None of those.
All right, here we go. This is real, everybody.
It's all psychology.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it's all loving the people. It's easy to love people. You know, it's fun to love people.
Sure.
And when you love them, they love you back.
Wow.
I had a lady call me, this was last summer, she called me and she said, hi, this is so-and-so, and she said, 11 years ago you came and did a market analysis on my house, and I didn't list because it wasn't the right time. Now I'm ready to list, and I found a house I want to buy. Where are you? Because I want to see this house right now. And I happened to be like 3 blocks away from where she was.
Okay.
I showed her that house. She didn't buy that one because it was a problem. I sold her another townhome. Then I sold her another townhome, and I sold her home. And it was 11 years. And I hadn't even kept in contact with her because she was just one of many. But she liked me.
Okay.
She felt that I was real. That's what she told me.
That's huge.
And I think the biggest advice is be who you are. Don't try to be anybody else.
Wow.
Be you, because you're the only you that's there.
Listen to this,
And
everybody.
we're all unique. We all have gifts to give. And you put it out there. Just put it out there and it will come back. It's called the law of attraction. Look it up on the internet.
Law of attraction.
Law of
I'm going to list
attraction.
that in the link in the comments below, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. And it's absolutely true. And it is absolutely a law. That what you put out, you get back.
Wow.
So if you really care, you will attract people that will care too.
I think that that's a big note. Biggest is light attracts light, and really being genuine. There's so many people out there, especially in different sales professions, that want to be everything to everyone, walking on eggshells in one way with another group and one way with another. I think being an original separates you from the pack and really weeds out the people. Hey, you know what? If they don't like you, that's okay.
It is okay. It's none of your business if they don't like you.
Right. Right. That's just the truth.
You know, so, but I just, I don't have any degrees. I don't have a GRI or a CRS because the classes that they offer that you have to take for that take me out of the field, and I already know the stuff.
Wow.
So I take classes like water law or something that can help me be better at my craft.
Love it.
And so, they go, you can't do it if you don't have the designations. Yes, you can.
Watch. Here's living proof right here. So, but Bobbi, I mean, that's so rich in data, and I think when I say that, it's you're being you're being an original. You don't have to necessarily dive in and dig into constantly learning from this source or this source or this source. You find it in the psychological piece, and that's what gets you excited, that's what you're interested in, and it helps you with your profession, personally, all the way through. So I think that's really great. And the law of attraction. I mean, I'm going to list that down below. So this is really great. It's been packed full of information. There's so much for everybody to take away. Last question to wrap everything up, Bobbi.
Okay.
This question really comes down to a quote or a mantra that you might live by that sums up you as a professional, you as a person. What does that look like for Bobbi Price?
Well, I don't really have a mantra or a quote, but I feel good about myself, and I think that shows. I'm real, and that shows. And this doesn't sound humble, but I'm humble.
Yeah, it's true, everybody. Yeah, no, that's huge.
I don't feel special. I feel like I'm just like everybody else. And I really try to help the young people coming into the business.
Right.
I didn't get a lot of help when I came in.
Wow.
In fact, I went home in tears a few times, getting yelled at. And I don't want that to happen to other people, so I do mentor, younger people that are coming in and try to help them, and that helps me too. Whenever you teach, you learn.
Agreed. And that, a part of the humility portion of that, if you are humble, you will be able to gather that information. And Bobbi, as far as I'm concerned, what you've done and what you continue to do, as I said before, is spectacular. So I understand that you feel that you're like everybody else. I will tell you that you are not. You are something special. We're all blessed in this community to have you here, and then the real estate industry is lucky to have you do what you do. Anybody out there who knows Bobbi knows that's the facts. And Bobbi, I just want to thank you for being on the show. You are a real estate titan, so thank you so much. Yeah, we'll do a hug now, Bobbi. Thank you so much. And again, everybody, thanks so much for your time and support. I really appreciate all the love that's shown through these series that are going on. As always, live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different titan in a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.